Coffee. The best thing that I could possibly have. Yeah, definitely. Coffee making machine was the best thing that I've ever got. Hey everyone, and welcome to Organian's Puzzle Box. Alex here, and today I want to talk about the Unreal Engine 5.1 preview. Now, sorry, well, it's not a preview anymore, it's out, but this is my preview about 5.1. Now, I know people have already talked about this, I know it's already been out for a while. I just want to talk about features that have really struck home with to me, and I just want to explain how some of these are being used, give you guys some tips and tricks on how to use some of these new improvements, because I think there are people who will struggle in some cases. I'm most excited about 60 FPS in Windows games or PC or PlayStation or Xbox games. I've also made improvement to Nanite Foliage, Lumen Reflections, Lumen Quality overall, emissive materials, and so on. But specifically, I want to talk about things that, as I said, have the most importance to me, rather than just for everybody else. It's just based on the work that I do. That's my point from my point of view. I do a lot of space scenes in Unreal Engine, so if you guys want to support the Organian Puzzle Box platform, please feel free to head on over to Creo Interactive, ArtStation, Gumroad, or Patreon, even YouTube membership, and you'll get access to all these projects. Just have a look. I mean, they're generally the price of a coffee if you guys are interested in that, if you want to support the channel. And yeah, I've used some of those funds to buy myself a coffee machine, and I'm really, really pleased. I'll show it to you guys in a future video. Now, there's more to this, so if you guys want to win all of my projects from ArtStation, I think there's about 30 projects in there. If you want to win, if you want to have the chance of winning all those projects for free, all you need to do is just subscribe to this channel and leave a comment in the section below talking about the feature of Unreal Engine 5.1 that most excites you. The one thing that you truly appreciate about it, the one thing that's the most useful to you. Just talk to us about it. Let the community know what you guys have found and explored and how it's useful to you. And at the end of this month, I will be running a random picker type of app. I'll have a look at what that is, and it will basically randomly select one of you guys that have dropped a comment in there. But you must be subscribed, you must have commented, and then feel free to join the Discord server as well so we can discuss it further. But I will announce the winner and pin it in the comment section below when the person is obviously selected. And yeah, you'll get access to all those projects and you can do whatever you want with them. And I will be running a community post. I'll do a community post just so you can see what the process was of selecting this random person, so you know that it's not rigged. I mean, why the hell would it be? But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys have fun. Let's begin this analysis of some of the features of Unreal Engine 5.1. Okay, so let's talk about foliage in Unreal Engine 5.1. I've got my scene over here, and as you notice, I've got a lot of foliage around me. I've got trees, grass, plants, and they're all animated with a wind animation. What's very interesting about this is that if I switch over from lit to nanite, you will notice that all of these meshes are now nanite. And for some reason, whenever I change the visualization, the performance sort of tanks, but then it's okay. So yeah, everything in here is now nanite. The foliage, the trees, the grass, everything in here is nanite, and it's performing very well. And it's also animated, which was virtually impossible to do this in the previous versions of Unreal Engine 5. But now it is available, and it's possible because of the world position offset. So if you have a look in here, this has now been enabled. Even though I'm using a nanite mesh, I can now use the world position offset to animate that. And if I pull back out of the scene, you'll notice that I've got a lot of trees here. This is running on epic scale, cinematic scale of settings on a 3070 GPU, and I've got roughly around 4,000 trees in here. The wind on these trees is a bit broken. I think I've gone a bit too far with strength. with the strength of it, but overall you can see how it's performing. Now, one thing that I don't have enabled right now is virtual shadow maps, and it's important that you actually do use them, although they will affect your performance. But if I move away from these trees, I'm not sure if you're noticing this, but oh yeah, there we go. The shadows are pretty much gone. So if I approach, you can see the shadows coming up again. But in project settings, if you go over here and enable virtual shadow maps, you will now notice that the shadows are okay. So the shadows now function at any sort of distance. If you disable that and go back to normal shadow maps, then again the shadows will disappear. So now you can have good shadows everywhere that you are. And I would recommend using virtual shadow maps anyway if you're using Nanite. But as a rule of thumb here, shadow maps, normal ones are useful when you want to have more performance, but virtual shadow maps are going to help you with Nanite meshes and foliage and stuff. Now, one other thing about Nanite Foliage is that if you go too far away from it and you don't have preserve area on, then the leaves will disappear. This doesn't happen all the time, but it can. So one thing that you need to do in your foliage, the normal way of just enabling Nanite would be to whatever other mesh you want to make, want to make into Nanite. You'd go and select, maybe shift click to select multiple ones, and you'd right click and go to Nanite and enable. And that's great, but for foliage, that's not going to also enable preserve areas, which will then, as I said to you, allow for leaves to show up even when you get too far away. But there is a solution to this that I've got for you guys. You just need to go into Asset Actions, select the bulk edit via property matrix, and in this new panel, you've got Nanite settings where you can enable it and also enable preserve area. And this will do it for all the meshes that you've selected. This is very important because you can change a lot of settings from multiple assets at the same time by doing this, and it saves a lot of time. So you don't actually have to, you don't have the option to just right click and then enable that in here. You can only enable Nanite, but not the preserve area. So you'd effectively have to double click each of these to do that. But I've just shown you a way to do it for all of them at the same time, which saves a lot of time. So another thing that's been done in Unreal Engine 5 that I'm really impressed with is some upgrades to the Lumen illumination method. So it's actually updating a lot faster now than it did and with less noise. So that's a very good improvement. And the emissive material that you can apply to any mesh is now working a lot better. So I've just added an emissive material to this cube, and you can see how quickly that pretty much updated in real time. This looks really good. I mean, this light is so good. It actually makes me feel like it's not even a real time render. It's like an offline render. You can see how good that is and how quickly that updates, and you can see the smooth shadows there. This is looking really good, and it's really powerful stuff, especially for people like myself where I want to create cinematics in Unreal Engine. You can see how quickly that moves and how performant it is as well. I'm really impressed by this. And one other thing as well is the foliage has received an upgrade as well. So previously foliage had an issue where you wouldn't be able to, translucency wouldn't display properly through the foliage. But now if I go here, you can see the light sort of passing through the leaves as well, which gives a bit more realism. As in previous versions of Unreal Engine, Lumen didn't allow for this to properly happen, so you'd get like overshadows or the shadows that were too strong on leaves, so they would just not look natural. But now you only get that when they overlap, which is fine. But other than that, the leaves look as more realistic than what they normally. What they previously used to look like. So here's one for me, guys. This is one that I just, I'm just crazy about because I make a lot of, I make cinematics in Unreal Engine. In the sequencer, we've now got this bar over here. Now, this bar is like a track, effectively a layer bar track. So you can animate. You've got these points in here, these keys, where you set the key for an animation to happen. In this particular case, the camera is moving around and rotating and whatnot. But what if you want to move these animations somewhere else? You want the sequence to play maybe sooner. So you can see I've got this gap over here, but I want this entire animation to play sooner. So what I can do now with the layer bars, I can just click it, and then I can just drag it, and now the animation has moved entirely and it will start sooner, or I can move it and it will start obviously later. So this helps content creators or cinematic endeavors, especially because you can have one of these layer bars for multiple different assets. So if you add another one in here, you can have another one. So this particular layer bar is only applied to this camera, but you can have a layer bar for every object that you animate. So anything that you're adding in here, let's say I am going to add this post process, and then I don't know, I'm tracking maybe its transform as well, and I've just added a point over there, and then I'm just gonna move its location somewhere else, and now you can see it's created a layer bar right there for that particular animation. So what that means is that if I have another animation over here, let's say to do with rotating it, you can see that the layer bar has now extended, and if I pull this from here, it will sort of make that animation smaller, the entire layer bar smaller. So now this layer bar, wherever I move it, it just takes this entire set of animations and moves it around. So that's really, really neat. We can add, something else, maybe another sort of animation. I'm just not sure. Let's say lens bloom. Actually, let me just go in here and just add a tint. So I've added the tint for lens bloom, and I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to add this, and you can see now that the layer bar has extended over there as well. So it now engulfs the transformation and this particular event here, which is the tint of the lens. So that's really, really useful overall, just because it's just a really nice feature to have overall, to just move animations around very, very quickly, animation sets if you'd like. So one major feature that was added in Unreal Engine 5.1 is the increase in the large world coordinate. This has gone from 22 kilometers as a maximum to a whopping 88 million kilometers. So the world can be so much bigger now than what it was before, in conjunction with the world partition system. Now I've got one of my space scenes opened in here. Again, you can get these off of my multiple stores, including Patreon. So in this particular project, I'm just going to go into world settings, and before you were able to find an option in here. So in 5.03, you were able to find an option in here that would say enable large worlds. Now that option has now disappeared from here because I guess they just don't need it to tell the engine that we were enabling it. It's already enabled by default. So in this particular scene, I've got some planets generated, and each of them is a higher measurement than the last. So this one is like at the 5,000 scale. Now if I click the next one, this is at 100,000. So if I press F, you can now see that planet. This is where we were, and where there's like a black hole sort of skybox as well available. So this is where we were right about here, and this is the next scale. And if I click the next one and press F on the keyboard, this will be the next scale. You can see the smaller one right over here. Now if I click the next one and press F, you will see that this is the next one. And this looks like one of those sort of documentaries where you compare different star sizes. Currently I'm just sort of showing you different planets. Now what's very interesting about this is that even at this incredibly large scale, you're still able to see all of your all of your elements quite nicely. So as you can see, this number is just incredibly big, and I believe I could duplicate this again and add another 0, and as you can see, that is now also generated, and it's right over there. Now the scale is so large that even at a speed of 8 on the camera speed and a 1024 speed scaler, I can't actually move through this scene and get close to these objects because they're that far away. So let me just try adding another 0 in here and see. Yeah, I mean, the scene has started to literally fall apart. Me trying to move at this particular size, the size is so big it doesn't even work. So yeah, that's what happens when you go to, you know, this amount of scale. I have no clue what that scale is. You can see even at this level I can't move either. You know, so I'm gonna try maybe getting a bit closer, something like that. So yeah, here I can move. But as I said, it's very interesting that the quality of these planets are still holding up. The shadows are still holding up. You can see the shadows over there. I'm not really noticing any sort of glitches or anything like that. But this looks like a really, really cool scene just on its own. The way, you know, it's set up right now. The atmospheres are showing up, which is very interesting. You can see the atmosphere rings from those planets. Obviously, they've got a full shadow around them because of where the sun is. So the sun is literally behind this particular planet right here. So that looks really good. But yeah, the large world coordinate now at 88 million kilometers makes it so that I can actually build even, you know, bigger scenes than before, and I'm not really getting any glitches. If I would have done this in Unreal Engine 5.03 or even Unreal Engine 4, chances are I wouldn't be able to really see anything at this scale, and definitely shadows wouldn't work at all. In conclusion, Unreal Engine 5.1 is just phenomenal and fully packed with loads of new features. Let me know in the comment section below the ones that you're using the most and what has come in handy to you. I know these are my top ones and they will definitely help me in producing more quality scenes and more quality space scenes as well. I would like to thank my Patreons, my Creo Interactive members as well, and the YouTube members for supporting the channel, supporting the platform. And I would like to thank all of you for, you know, basically allowing me to do what I love most and also drinking a lot of coffee. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Enjoy.